In here for another fun day, and there's a bunch of pop-ups on your screen like there are on mine. Welcome to Tuesday training. Hello. It's so good to see you all here. I'm moving my screen around as we speak. Hey, Cheryl. Hey, Elizabeth. It's great to have you here. Happy that you're here with us for Tuesday training. I know there's a couple of you also here, not yet on camera. All good. Lori and Gary, welcome to Tuesday training. Okay, my heavens, it does feel like it has been, I say this every week. I don't know what it is. Time is moving fast these days, but it feels like it's been, hi, Lori, a lot longer than a week. But I am so glad to see you back here again for our weekly Tuesday training, which is at noon Eastern each week. We're doing training for manual and movement practitioners each week, and that could be anything that you guys want support on. Could be about client work, could be about professional, like what do I do with my business? Could be about case studies, which comes up a lot. Could be about anatomy, which is what I love to play with, because truthfully, case studies means using your anatomy to do that. And so we're here for all of it each week. Welcome if you're joining us for the first time in person or on the replay. I do know that lots of you watch on the replay, and I'm delighted about that. So just want to give a shout out to you while we're here live. I feel you coming in, even though you're not quite here yet. If the replay, I know how time is like sort of man-made, but welcome. Feel free to leave any comments or questions in the comment section. If you're here live and you want to use the chat, you're welcome to do that. Also, as you guys know, for those of you who are here each week, come off mic or come off mute and ask away. If we're just meeting for the first time, you just happen to find us on YouTube. Tuesday Training for Practitioners is hosted by the SHOTS Method Training Academy. And so we have lots and lots of training opportunities for movement and manual practitioners who are committed to being their absolute best. And I know you all who are here each week are absolutely committed to that, because I hear you and I know what you're up to. So welcome. I'm Gina Schatz. I am your human host rather than your product host. I'm the developer of the SHOTS method and all the training in our academy, which I love to share. And I'm also the instigator for our community, which is not my design, but my brainchild, if you will. Our community is pretty awesome and potent and inclusive and loving and generous and supportive. And Lori, who's here each week on Tuesday training, is one of our anatomy advocates. You can always reach out, mostly off camera. Okay, awesome, Cheryl. Thanks for letting me know. Lori's one of our advocates, and you are always welcome to reach out to one of our advocates if you have questions that you feel would be better answered for you by a peer. If you want to, I don't know, circumvent me, I'm just kidding. If there's just something that they've gone through all the training, I created it, but they went through it. So it's really awesome to have them to tell you what their experience is and how that works out. We also have a study group that meets a few times a month for that reason. And our advocates are committed to being there, which I think is just unbelievably incredible. So study group meaning, you get an online course, and we talked about this at the summit. We don't always finish online courses. Most of us don't. Some of us do. And even those of us who do, we don't have any support along the way. There's no community learning or someone to ask a question of, I don't know that you're not supposed to end sentences, prepositions, but you know what I mean? Our advocates are there all the time to be like, I remember that question. And I remember how I was thinking through the question the first time. And I also remember how I got to the answer. So our community is just filled with practitioners like that. So feel free at any time to reach out to us. And this week's Tuesday training is sponsored by our masterclass, which is coming up tomorrow. I can't believe it's coming up so fast, which is super exciting for me. I love masterclass time because I just love diving in a little bit deeper, on a particular topic and just getting right in there and getting it done. And they go by fast. So I'm always like happy when they're coming and then sort of sad that they're gone. But tomorrow's masterclass is on architecture of an orthopedic session. I had some questions about that. So I'm going to create some clarity for us here today before we get too deep into our content for today. Welcome, Len. I'm glad you're here. Laura, you're also coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you all here. Architecture of an orthopedic session, or blueprint of a session. Hey, Laura, glad you're here. Feel free to be on camera or not. Hi, hello, yep. And the reason why I came up with this masterclass is because truthfully, at our advanced level in our mastery track, at our advanced level, we're still diving deep in the architecture or blueprint of a session. And so what that means to me for all of us, even if we're not in that mastery program, that we all could use some more training around that, which is great news for me. I love when I know where the questions are so that I can create answers for them, for sure. And what I realize with architecture of a session or blueprint, the blueprint that I follow, is that sometimes we think we just don't know enough. Like we don't have enough training. We're a manual practitioner, not a movement practitioner, or vice versa. We didn't learn this technique. We don't have that tool. We didn't have that CE. And I'm here to tell you that's not what I'm experiencing as a trainer. That's not the truth. All of you who are here, especially if you're in the sound of my voice, and it's not just random that you found us on the internet. If you're here, it's because you know that this is the work that we do here in this training bubble. So you're already on board. You're already on board to do that type of work. So you probably have trained enough to know what's needed to do that work. Doesn't mean that we can't learn more anatomy. You heard me say at the summit, we get to learn anatomy for the rest of our lives on the planet. But most of the time when we're not sure what to do, it's not because we don't have enough knowledge. It's because the architecture and how you format a session is just like anything else. It's like a recipe. If you put the eggs in before you put the butter in and the butter's not warm, then you can't really blend them together, even if you have all the ingredients to make the cake, right? So there's a finesse that comes with putting that session together, and you might have all the ingredients. Maybe you do need more training on some anatomy. Normal, we all will for the rest of our lifetime. But I really feel like it's that other piece. So that's what we're doing in tomorrow's masterclass. I hope that you'll join us there. If you can't come live, that's okay. There's always a replay. Laura?
Gina, real quick, and I should apologies for not getting with you this earlier. Do you have a link for that for folks?
I have a link for that. What a great idea.
I know.
Should
I
we
love
share
it.
it
I
here?
usually have it ready, and I'm like, I don't have my link ready. So
You're so thoughtful, Lori. Well, thank
sorry
you.
to break up
Thank
your
you for that.
flow.
You're not. No, you're helping. So thank you for even bringing it up, because I would have forgot to post it. And so you're thinking of posting it, which is beautiful. Okay, so here's the link.
Question.
Yeah.
How do we hear about these things in advance? The special classes that you had? Because I know there was one a couple of weeks ago with Lori, and I didn't know anything about it. And I was wondering, well, where do I go to find this information? Like, this is the first I'm hearing about this one. So
yeah, the master class snuck up on us.
yeah, I mean, is there a place that we go to find out about these things in advance?
Yeah. I love this question because you're telling me that I'm not screaming loud enough or far enough. So that's great. Tell me, Cheryl, what was the masterclass with Lori a few weeks ago that you're
I don't know.
referencing?
I see she did something in her studio. Wasn't there?
Oh, that's our that's here for folks in Cleveland. It's a functional movement class.
Oh, I thought it was
In
something
person.
online too.
No,
Okay.
no. That's here for folks that are local in Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I heard about it. I saw it afterwards, and I went, "Oh, I would have been there."
Okay,
Oh,
good.
Cheryl,
Get to
we
travel
would
to Cleveland.
Yeah, we would love you to be there. You get to come to Cleveland and be with us in person for that one, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. But so thanks for letting me know about that one. The master class that's tomorrow, I happen to know you specifically, Cheryl, just because we had this conversation once already. For all folks who VIP'd in the summit this year, it's included. So you would have had emails during the summit that told you about that master class, and we mentioned it.
Okay.
Yep. So it's the same one that we mentioned in the summit.
Okay.
Yeah. I might not have said it by name just to try to be less words about, deferring or deflecting away from what we were talking about at the summit. But it's that same masterclass that you signed up for when you VIP'd for the summit.
Okay.
So,
so the link would be in one of those emails as well.
Yep. And you're probably going to get another one today. And definitely you'll get one tomorrow.
Okay. So what time does that happen? Because I'm in the air in the morning, but I'll be in Phoenix at some point.
I know.
In the morning. Yeah, I know. I'm kind of in between, but I'm going to be in Phoenix with some time to spare. So if it works out, I might be able to jump on.
Perfect. I know you're west, so I know it's early for you, whether you're in the air or not. So it's 10 Eastern, and that's a 90-minute masterclass.
Oh yeah, I'll be in the air because I leave at 5:20 a.m. tomorrow morning. So
and here I'm worried about it being too early for you.
Yeah.
Are you going to be like up dressed and in transit? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll catch the replay, and that's okay. You'll catch the replay.
I think it's still West Coast time. Yeah. Phoenix is. Yeah. Okay.
Phoenix is West Coast?
Yeah, it is, because it's an hour earlier than I'm in Mountain Time now, but I'll be in, yeah. Phoenix doesn't have the time change, I think. They don't change time. So they're Pacific time.
Well, I'm so glad that we know now, and you'll get the replay for sure. And then you get to ask me questions about that after you see the replay.
Okay, perfect.
The replay link will also be sent to you after the masterclass, of course, because it'll be populated for you then.
Perfect. Good.
Yeah, and I did not post in our student lounge last week because I got locked out of Facebook. I was in Facebook jail. You know why I was locked out of Facebook jail? Because I posted a link to one of our own classes. And they told me I was infringing on copyright law. I was like, really? My own copyright? Oh, okay, cool. So you have not heard from me in Facebook for some time because of that.
Okay.
So,
yeah. And quickly, I sent you an email last week, and I just wanted to be sure that you received it, because I
did not receive it. In fact, I even mentioned you to Lori this weekend. I'm like, have you heard from Cheryl? Because
no, I sent you an email right after the Tuesday training last week. So in response to what you had sent me.
Great. Would you forward it again to me?
Yes, I'll double check and make sure that it's sent. But
okay, perfect. So. Good, because I think I know what we're talking about, and I want to be able to talk about it on camera. So
I was
thank you.
Okay.
No, yeah, I just mentioned it to Lori just a few days ago. Perfect. Please forward that again to me. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other questions? I love this. Real time is always better than technology or email. Any other questions before we dive in? Anything that's coming up so far? Okay, awesome. So what I thought I would support you guys with today, if this resonates with you. Last week we talked about knees. Do you remember the knees? Yeah. Laura, did you happen to catch the replay? I feel like you might. Is this your new? Are you joining us for the first time ever, Laura? You are?
I am, yes. A friend actually sent me your email. She was like, oh, I can't join, but see if you can join. And I was like, okay.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we love your friend because that's super generous. And Laura, tell us, are you a manual or movement practitioner?
Movement practitioner.
Okay.
Thinking about getting into manual. The more I learn about the body, the more I see how it's, you got to have both. So.
Aha. Interesting. Yeah. So we talk about that a lot. Do you really need to have both, or do you just need to know the anatomy that both should know?
Yeah, but I think it becomes like addictive, You're like, oh, it's like a new thing to learn. Exciting. It keeps your brain going.
It absolutely does keep your brain going. And I'm really glad that you brought that distinction, because it's not that I think you shouldn't go to the other side from manual to movement or movement to manual. I'm not saying that. I'm both. The distinction that I want us all to have is that the other side of manual or movement is not where you're missing information or missing answers, which is sometimes why we want to jump ship. Like, oh, well, it's not working for me as a massage therapist. Maybe I need to be a yoga teacher. Or, it's not working for me as a Pilates instructor. Maybe I need to go back to massage therapy school. That's not why it's not working. But the investment and the addiction, because we're ever always learning about the body and its form and function. Yes. So as long as we're making the decision from that point of clarity, I'm all in favor. I am less in favor when it's, I don't think I'm qualified or skilled enough to create X, Y, and Z. That's not true. The reason I know that, it's not just my belief, but I have proof. I know that because the method, the SHOTS method, supports both manual and movement practitioners in creating the exact same results. And they don't have to be both manual and movement to create those results. So I have, a body of evidence. I have practitioners out there in the world who are not both and creating the same results I create. And I thought I also needed to have both. Wrong reason to go to the other side. Healthy reason to go to the other side if you're just, I want to know and there's more and
curiosity.
Curiosity, and also staying in the game, right? For sure. Keeping your mind moving and pun intended, and thinking differently about what you already know and that kind of stuff. Absolutely. From a place of inspiration and investment and growth, not from a fear of lack. That's the reason to switch to the other side. And so that leads me to, like, what are the solutions we're hoping to create for folks. What is it that, Gary, are you waving goodbye to someone or are you raising your hand? I think you're waving goodbye to somebody. I just want to make sure I'm not ignoring your question if you have one. You're muted. Gary, you're muted. I can't hear you. You're muted. Don't worry about it. Okay, I think that's what that said. Okay, I can't. I can do a little bit of sign language and some lip syncing. So, question for us is, when we're doing what we do, manual and movement, when we're thinking about more training, going back for more, the question that I have for us today is, for what reason? What are we wanting to create with the modality that we use and the training that we're seeking? What is it that you all are up to? It's an open question for all of you, really. Like, what are you wanting for your clients? Go ahead, Laura. Love to hear it.
I kind of think maybe everybody would also, I don't know, agree. I'm a trainer, like a personal trainer, Pilates instructor. I do a bunch of different mobility things, but the more I seem to learn about the body and the more I work with clients, the more I'm finding that in my sessions, I can only do so much. And so figuring out ways to encourage or educate my clients on how to take care of themselves, like preventative medicine, and makes whatever I do last so much more, and also prevents it's like a whole way of changing their thought is kind of where I feel like I get stuck, because they keep coming back, which is great for business, but also it's, you know, you want them to come back because they have new goals now, or they have, you know, you don't want to be stuck in that. Or maybe they come and then they're like, I feel great. And then they don't do what they're supposed to. And then, or they start going down that unhealthy rabbit hole again. And then they come back because they're in pain again. You know, that's kind of where I'm struggling.
I love this. And we call that Groundhog's Day, when you're doing the same thing over and over again for the same client and rendering the same, only this level of results. I love this. So you're in good company. And Laura, when you say that you can only do so much, my question then is, for what or about what? Only so much about, fill that in for me.
So much about pain, so much about preventing more pain, or so much about, yeah, stuff like that. I mean, in the hour that we have, I can only work with you and your body on whatever your goal is, whether it to be out of pain or to increase your performance or to just have better mobility. You know, like the body doesn't work with one shots. It works with consistency. So that's where I feel like I have so much, no matter what their goal is. I only have an hour with them, and we can do as much as we can in an hour, you know, and maybe I see them once a week for an hour, twice a week for an hour. But really, what are you doing the rest of the time is kind of what I feel. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, 100%. Like, yeah, I've heard this many, many times from many a practitioner, and we do feel like we only have an hour and that they're not doing their homework, and there's a way to bridge that gap for sure. And with love, it doesn't mean you have to be a manual practitioner to do that, because I know we have Pilates instructors, graduate of our training program, who have zero manual training and they don't want it, and they're still creating the pain results. And so that's a different lane. Like, that's what I'd really like to talk about today, is that the modality that we do, the skill set as a Pilates instructor or personal trainer, or the skill set that we have as a massage therapist, absolutely gets to be the best. You get to be the best. You just get to be the best for sure. And once we get into pain and dysfunction and navigating remedies for that and protocols for it, it's a different lane. And none of us learned that in our respective modalities. So thinking here, going back to what we said earlier, thinking as a I don't know if you're saying this, Laura, I'm using this just as an example. Thinking that as a Pilates instructor or a personal trainer, we don't have enough information or skill to navigate pain and dysfunction. So maybe it's, if I was a massage therapist, I would. It's not the truth, because the massage therapists don't know that either. You're saying no, Laura, like you already know that? Yeah, say more. What do you mean?
I mean, yeah, I kind of feel like a person's pain, like when I say we can only help them so much, like, okay, maybe we can help them get out of pain in that moment, but can we help them continue their journey in order to learn about their body so that they can learn how to have better functional movement? Like if someone has a problem, it kind of what I found, it's never just that one problem. It's that one problem that's unwinding many, many, many problems that have been there for decades and decades. So can we, one, help them realize that, and two, help them no matter what our modality is. Like, I don't think my modality doesn't work. I just think in general, working with clients, it is hard for anybody to get them to take responsibility for their own body, I guess is what I'm saying, and their own care.
It might seem like it's hard, but it's not. It's just a new skill set. Yep. Learning how to enroll your clients in the work that you're doing to create the results is just a skill set. So I love that you're hungry for that, because as soon as that happens, boom, you're going to be lit up, and so are they. And I love that for all of you, meaning all the people that you serve. It's awesome. How many of you guys feel the same with your client work? Well, what same about what? Feel that you can only help them so much. That you can only help them so much.
I feel that sometimes. I feel that sometimes. Yeah. And especially being that most of my work is virtual, so I feel like it kind of limits me in some regard. I think there's a lot I can do. And, I too am a personal trainer, Laura. And since COVID, pretty much everything has gone virtual, which has been awesome for me because I'm moving around a lot. But I feel like there's some limitations, but I also do feel very similar to Laura about knowing more information, knowing more will help me to help them more, so that they can take that, they can have that information and they can use it in their life to whatever that is, change their body positions, their structure, just how they're moving their body to help them, navigate through and relief of pain, because there are people who come in with things all the time,
Right.
Seems like that there's always something.
Yeah. My heart is warmed because it's like, oh my gosh, you're doing the same work I'm doing. You're wanting to do the same work that I do. Like, yes, we get to do that for people. Not every practitioner is in that space. Some practitioners don't want to navigate pain. They're like, I don't know. It's sort of like it's an interruption of the other thing I really want to do. And so for those of us who really do want to navigate pain and dysfunction and correct it, we get to band together.
Right. And prevent it.
Prevent it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about that in the Pain Master class, Cheryl, which I know you have from the VIP bundle. And it's available in our academy if you don't have it already. I do teach on 3 types of pain. And sometimes people are like, well, preventive isn't pain. It is if you think about how to prevent pain. It is a form that you put your head around to make sure it doesn't happen. And that's not just hope. There's something in us as practitioners, it's what you're speaking to, Laura, about what do you say to someone to educate them in a way that enrolls them in doing what you want them to do. And it might feel like it's hard if we don't know how to enroll someone yet. It might also feel like it's hard if we don't really know what causes the pain. We see that there should be a fix once pain is present, but sometimes as practitioners, we don't know what actually gets people into pain. We can just identify when they're there. That's a skill set for us. And then once we have that skill set, how do you message that in a way that enrolls someone in doing the work, right? And we talk messaging all the time. That's why I shared at the top of our hour here. Professional development is how do you say what you know, not just how do you do what you know, right? Because saying what you know is communicating with your person and getting them on board with it without giving them an anatomy class, which they're not really interested sometimes. They just want, right. All that is a skill. And it's all learnable, by the way, and it's pretty easy to learn. I think it's easy. Laura, you tell me if I'm exaggerating at all. Maybe it's
a little skill, but once you got it, it's like anything. Once you keep implementing it, and then you try it, and then you're like, "Oop, that didn't land," and then it's the same thing with anything. So yeah.
And I think one of the hardest things too for me is people most often come in with injuries, have come in with, something has happened in the past, and sometimes I don't even know that. until, something doesn't feel right when they do, when they do a certain movement, it doesn't feel right for them. Okay, well, yes, I do have a intake form and try to get all the information I can, but, a lot of times, it's how do you, an injury that has been living in their body for a very long time, so how do you switch that around, because just that.
Yeah. No, it's real. In fact, there's 3 touchstones in our method, and one of them is called repatterning. And it's exactly what you're talking about, Cheryl. Like, it's 33% of the method. What do you do when someone's created compensation patterns, added time to them, and and that pattern is in the way of what you're trying to do, or that pattern is the source of their pain? What do? It's a skill. You learn how to repattern and what's needed to repattern. And then and then everything we've already said, walk them through that to success. And also, if you're at the place right now where you don't have that, you're not trained in that yet, even doing no harm is still helpful, because you're preventing more problems, right? Sometimes what happens when the movement world, and also in the manual world, I can pick on all of us actually. Sometimes what happens in the movement world is there's still a little bit of no pain, no gain mentality out there, even if it's not spoken so much on, it's not plastered on a billboard over, the awning of a fitness center, for example. There's still something like, well, should I move through the pain or should I not move through the pain? Sometimes discomfort is not the same as pain. And sometimes using a muscle that's been atrophied for a while feels uncomfortable. Well, we can't feel inside someone's body. So we can't decide whether they should move through it or not based on a word. The way we know whether someone should move through their discomfort is because we know the anatomy and we know what's required in repatterning. That's our skill. And then we get to communicate that. So it's not that it's no pain, no gain, and it's not push through it. And it's also, you should never feel uncomfortable. There's something in the middle, and that is part of the learning that we get to explore. Like, well, what is the middle? And how am I supposed to know that if I'm not in their body using their nervous system to calibrate this? There's ways to tell. The body will give you clues. The body will give you clues along the way. And timing is also important. One of the numbers that we have in the method is 90 seconds. If you're doing something for 90 seconds, this is a bit vague because I haven't picked a specific example, but if you're trying to create change or a pattern interrupt in a compensatory pattern, for example, for 90 seconds, and it doesn't get better, or the discomfort doesn't alleviate, you're not doing a benefit. But right at that 45-second mark, about halfway through that 90-second window, which doesn't seem like as long as we're talking about it, but it feels like a lifetime when someone's repatterning, right at that 45-second mark, the discomfort actually increases right up until that point. It's like being at Cedar Point until it goes down again. Because the nervous system is like, this is an area of problem, this is an area of problem, this is an area of problem. But the nervous system isn't saying, that's too hot and I'm going to get burned, you must move, there's an emergency. It's not saying that. But for someone who's come in with 10 years of discomfort in a particular area of their body, or an injury that was very traumatic 10 years ago that they've compensated around and don't feel anything there anymore, bringing sensation back to that area might feel like they should be under warning. Feel like intellectually feel, not sensory feel.
Gina, can I ask you a question about something?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. So I actually have quite a few clients that have thyroid issues, and they have a bunch of other things that go along with this thyroid. And I've noticed in people that have been diagnosed with thyroid problems, women, when they come to me for pain. But the thing is, if you try to do anything with movement or go anywhere towards the problem or anything, you get that nervous system spike and then they have on top of that the thyroid and the medication that's making them go up and down, and then it's like their nervous system is so like whacked out I don't know what other word to say, that it's almost hard to even start the process of trying to do the movement that's necessary to help them.
Well, I heard you say the word hard again before, Laura. And again, I'm not against 4-letter words, but that one's not working because we get to find easy. We get to find solutions. And so I'm committed to that with you for sure. Can you give me an example of like a part of their body? Think of a client.
Sure. So I have a client, she has thyroid and she has Lyme currently at the moment. And she has neuropathy in her feet.
Okay.
And both her feet. And she has a shoulder, the PT said it was a frozen shoulder, but it's comes and goes and comes and goes and comes and goes. So when her shoulder acts up or her feet start to bother her, she also gets shin splints, and we try to work from the outside in. We try to go from like farthest away from the problem, like to the problem, depending on the days where she's like, oh my God, they're trying to figure out her medication at this moment that's working for her thyroid. And so sometimes she comes in and she's like, whoa, and sometimes she comes in and she's like really tired. And so, but if we go anywhere near that on the days that she's a little wired, anywhere near her feet or anywhere near anything that she needs to do any sort of work on any of the problem areas, it's almost like she's 10 times more sensitive. So we kind of just have to leave it. We can't go there. And until she calms her nervous system down or something happens and where she calms down, could be a couple of weeks, we can't assess it. We can't address it. That's where the hard comes in.
Well, what are you working on with her? What are you trying to create together?
Sure. So we're trying to create, for the feet, so she's been to the PT and she's done all of that kind of stuff. And so they said, keep up the strength in her feet, work her arches, work all her like tibialis anterior, work her eversion, work her inversion, work all of the toes, work her calves, go into squats, all of this kind of thing in order to build the strength that she needs to help her posture, not put pressure on this neuropathy, as well as to build the muscle, get circulation going there so she can walk more, which will also really help. And when we try to do any of the exercises where her feet are concerned, and she's in one of these states, she immediately feels pain, and we have to back off. Immediately feels pain and have to back off. Immediately feels pain and have to back off. She had been to a PT who was pushing her through the pain, but it was actually very bad. She ended up becoming really, really panicky and very upset, and she was having breathing problems. And so the same thing with the shoulder. She had a PT that was really digging into the shoulder, trying to break up the tissues there. And so, yeah, and then it just becomes inflamed. Everything becomes inflamed and we can't do anything. Does that give you any information?
Well, I am clear on what the PTs are doing. What are you working on with her? What is your goal together?
So my goal is to get her moving. My goal is to get her up and moving, to get her walking in her daily life, to get her to be able to do things like bend over and pick something up, to get her to be able to keep herself out of pain, to maintain whatever the PT did, to keep herself out of that. And her goal is to be able to walk around the city. I'm in New York City. So her goal is to be able to walk around the city. She wants to walk. And now she cannot walk without feeling pain. After she saw the PT, while she felt incredibly like frazzled, her foot was better. And so, but she stopped doing the exercises, right? And then to work on where the foot links up the body so that way she can maintain good posture and have good health. Really, it's really with her, that's really what it is.
Just so I can get clear, your goal with her is to get her moving in Pilates?
No, just anything. I do Pilates, I do personal training, any tool that I have, I just want to get her to move. My goal is to get her to move with me.
So does she not move?
She doesn't move.
Okay, so why does she come to you then if she doesn't move?
Well, this is a good question, but
yeah. So I hear where the heart is, because I don't hear you two aligned on what your purpose is together. And that would make it hard to create a solution for you. If you're not sure what you're building, then you can't build it.
Right. I mean, this is the goal that we had agreed on together. but I do hear you're saying like maybe she agreed on this goal with me. Like I asked her, what is your goal? She said, I would like to be able to move around and walk around the city and have no pain and be in better health. However, when we work together, that goal that we don't both seem to be going towards that goal.
If you both have a hammer in your hand and you're building something, you got to know what you're building.
Okay.
Otherwise, one of you is going to build a ship with no water and the other one's going to build a TP with no land.
Right. I hear you. But this is where I go back to what I talked about before with the getting clients to also take responsibility for their body.
Well, it's not about she needs to take responsibility. What I'm hearing is that you're the authority there between the two of you, and you get to say each time, focused, this is what we're doing in this hour. But I'm not hearing that that's happening. So you get to create that for sure. And as soon as you do, it'll be easier on you and easier on her.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. As a start, I mean, there's other things going on in her body. We could spin around them for hours and hours, like I'm sure she already has with you. But we want to get really clear on what are you doing together so that you're both aligned with that. And then is that possible? It's always possible. And if it's always possible, what do I need to create here to reach that possibility? And until you're there in step 3, it's too soon to craft a plan together. Otherwise, you're just sort of arbitrarily, again, blueprints for a ship, blueprints for a TP, but we're not clear what we're actually building together. So when I meet with people in chronic pain, usually do come layered with stuff, energetically, emotionally, physically, for sure. So you're here for it, Laura. That's awesome for her that you're here for it. And before you spin out and get tired of not creating results, you would do better for her and you to get clear on what result am I actually creating today, just for like you said, for just this hour, because there's lots that you could focus on with her. And that's part of knowing what the protocol, like how to formulate a protocol. There's some things that are appropriate for step 1 and some things that need to wait. And I hear you figuring that out, which is awesome. Digging into someone's frozen shoulder while it's frozen is not a good protocol. It's too soon and too hard. But being upset about that is also not a good protocol because we're still not in committed action about what to do next or what to do now. Go ahead, Laura. You can unmute. What was that? Okay. Gary, you have a question?
It's just a thought. My experiences with clients who have been in a lot of pain and are squirreling around trying to find solutions, and when you want them to move through a certain range of motion, it's not comfortable. Going back to what the goal is, even if you agree with someone on their goals, sometimes they have negative healing beliefs, which is, Laura, your client says, I want to do this. And if you say, well, we need, this is what we need to get there. Do you believe that we can do this? The client goes, I mean, if they really look at what their belief is about healing, sometimes they have negative healing beliefs, which is, I'll never get over this pain in my feet. I'll never be able to move my shoulder without pain. And that negative healing belief really counteracts a lot of what you're doing. So that's a different rabbit hole to go down, but I found that to be, when you can clear that piece up, everything moves forward a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's such a good point, Gary. Yeah, we did mention that in the summit last week, right? Like we can only take someone as far as they believe that they can go. And we get to be responsible too, guys. It's not just the clients. We can only take someone as far as we believe we can take them. So if we are hiding behind not feeling like we're empowered to create a solution, it's really easy to point the finger at the client and their fury or their nervous system or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I believe that we can all get to a point where we're like, I know exactly what I can do to help you, and I know how long it's going to take. And if we're not coming in with that kind of clarity and conviction, then we're also not sure that we're going to create results. And so then we won't. Mm-hmm. Right? And how do you get to that clarity and conviction of like, I know I can help you, and I know this is what it's going to take? by practice, by more training. I wasn't like that at first when I had people that would come in and spin around. 30 years ago, I was like, I hope I can fix it, but hope is not right. Now I'm sure if someone comes in, I'm like, I can tell. I just know. I know, and I can tell them, and I explain to them what it's going to take and how it's going to take. And I think there's a partnering piece here too. We talked partnering a few weeks back in Tuesday training. We get to partner with the people that we're serving and with their body. So it's not us against them or us against another practitioner that they're seeing. It's what do you want to create for yourself? And what do I know I have the capability of creating with you? And let's put a plan together, not just put a plan together, but together, let's put a plan together because this is what it's going to take. And I'm going to keep my word and do my part. And you're going to keep your word and do your part. And if you, client, skip a little bit or forget something, I'm here to remind you of that because we're both going to do our part to make this happen. That's part of the goal setting. That's part of the clarity between you. And in order to state that, you've got to know what's needed. And I think sometimes practitioners, I'm trying to figure this out actually. Sometimes practitioners don't know and they're confused or nervous or, sort of spinning a little bit with love about what a client's presenting because they don't actually know where to start. They know that there's a lot to do, but they don't actually know where to start. That can feel overwhelming. As a practitioner, that can feel overwhelming. We need to not have overwhelm at the start of something that's complicated. We need to have clarity at the start of something that's complicated because who's going to hold down the clarity? It's not going to be the person who's spinning in pain. It's got to be us. So we've got to know what that is, what it's going to take. And also be willing to be confident about the order of things. Right? So there's sometimes when folks come in and they're like, my shoulder, my neck, my hip, my knee, my back, my ankle. I'm like, wow, how about the list of things that isn't included? That's shorter, right? And to your point, Laura, not all of that's going to get addressed in one session. Sometimes it does because sometimes things are connected. If you follow the treasure map and you know exactly where the genesis is of the problem, you could correct that and it all unravels. It's a beautiful thing when that happens. If you're chasing symptoms, if you're going, this hurts, that hurts, this hurts, that hurts, and you're chasing symptoms, that means you haven't found the crux of the compensation pattern and it'll take you longer. It'll take you longer and they won't get results and then they will lose confidence and then you'll lose confidence again. And then that sort of spirals out as well. So we want to know how to craft the plan based on how compensatory patterns work and be willing to let something sit for today, even if it's a high symptom, because the symptom is not the source. It's just what they're presenting with the most. And of course, we want them to be out of pain. Hello, that's what we're talking about. Everybody here wants your people to be out of pain. But you got to be willing to let that one piece sit for today, because over here is where it really started. And if I can get that where it started to be remedied, the ripple effect of compensatory patterns and symptoms that come with it might be a nothing. And then I wouldn't have chased my tail. Right? So that's also part of the skill as well. And you get to communicate that to the person you're serving. I've said these exact words. I hear you that you have shoulder pain. I believe you that you have shoulder pain. I can see that you have restrictions in your shoulders. And I want that to go away just as much as you do. Absolutely. You have my word. And I'm positive based on what I've already assessed and what I know and the compensatory patterns and all the things. I know that it's not coming from your shoulder. I know that it's not coming from your shoulder. And if I dig there, I'm only going to be chasing symptoms and you and I are both going to waste our time here today. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for me either. The next step is, here's where it is coming from. And here's how I know that. It's coming from this part of your body. This is the part that started it. When it started it and it did this thing, it had this effect, which then caused that. So I hear you that you have shoulder pain and I'm not going to work on your shoulder today. I am, but not directly. I'm going to work over here where it started. And then we're going to let the body figure out what to do with this new base. Every time you say that to a client with clarity and conviction, because you actually do know, they're on board with it. They're like, I don't care how you get the pain to go away. I don't need you to touch my shoulder for the shoulder pain to go away. I just need you to get the shoulder pain to go away. And we're like, great, great. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my part. We're going to work together on this. I'm going to do my part. You do your part. And then you let them know. And here's your part. And here's why your part's important, though. Just like you explained to them about the shoulder's not the source, this other place is the source. This piece of homework that I need you to do is because without it, this source is going to go back to where it started. And you're going to come back to me tomorrow or next week or next month with the same symptoms. And I don't want that for you. Worst case scenario, you come back with the same symptoms, but we want to move forward because we had our goal was to move forward with this. So then they're enrolled in a different way because they know that you've pieced it together. What people with pain are not on board with, no matter how nice you are, is they're not on board with you giving them more stuff to do if they don't know why. They're not on board with that. People are busy. Nobody wants more things to do, even when they're not in pain. And if they are in pain and pain does do something to the nervous system, all of us, I'm certain, have navigated our own musculoskeletal issues. I was a different person. When I broke my tailbone and I couldn't walk, I was not the same person. I wanted to be, but I wasn't. My nervous system had its own story going on. And I was like, wow, now I'm 3 people. Cool. I need my alternate personality and my nervous system and its thing that it's navigating. So it changes people. So they're already super burdened when they're in pain. They're not going to just do homework because you want them to do homework. They're going to do homework because they know the means to the end. And we need to explain that to them. It's part of messaging the anatomy in a way that gets them on board with the solution. It's all part of crafting this plan. And you see, none of this means that you don't have enough skill or that you need to be a different type of practitioner. It means that we just need to know what caused the problem and what to do for it, what the plan is in order. Yeah, we could go on. This is what we talk about all the time. Lori, do you want to add in? You've come a long way with pain remedying and finding sourcing and crafting treatment plans. You've really taken yourself on in the last bit here. Do you want to add anything?
No, I don't think so. You know, what I have learned, and this is what I have learned is really about the architecture of a section, which I know you're going to talk about tomorrow, is a thorough, and Gary, you mentioned it also, and I think other people have too, a thorough, and Cheryl did also, everybody mentions it, a thorough intake. And what really landed again and again and again is like, what are we creating today? Right? Like it was Laura that said it, like, if we don't know, and Laura, I've been there, if we don't know, we're just like, we're kind of spitballing. And then the client leaves and then you leave and you're like, oh shoot.
I think you guys, I wasn't saying that I didn't know. I was just saying I was having trouble with them continuing the work. It's just what I was saying. But all this is very helpful though. Appreciate it.
Corrected. Yeah.
Sorry, were you done?
Yeah, I think that was it. Just like getting really clear, and that's changed how I also see Schutz's method clients privately, is getting really clear and like, what is our goal today? And my goal, like I'll have it in my head, like, oh, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And their goal is like, I just have a few questions. I want to know what my homework is. I'm like, okay, cool. We can do that. And I'm going to do all these other things. Yeah, it narrows it, focuses it really in a lovely way.
Awesome. Yeah, it's something to get caught up in people's stories about all the things they have going on in their body. And we deserve to be able to like streamline all of that and really cut it out. Not cut it out, but like streamline that. We did something in our level 2 last week called the Derby, treatment plan Derby. And it's 3 things in 20 minutes that resolves a client of mine, and was having a hard time walking, knee pain, all the things, story, lots of details. And I was like, I think we could just like cut through the, what do they call it? The fat, like just streamline in. I know we can do this. I absolutely know we can do this. So we played treatment plan Derby in level 2 last week. And it was fascinating. These are like super talented, highly trained practitioners. And we get to practice getting clearer on what to do rather than spinning around all the details, right? So, Lori, I love that you said that you know what to do. We didn't hear that. I'll just be, confessional. I heard lots about thyroid and medication and PTs and frozen shoulders, and it sounded like there was a lot in there. And I get it. People come with layers of pain, right? And when we're focused on solving a goal for today, we want to know all of that and then get super streamlined in what are we up to today. And that might be, what am I up to, is getting them to do their homework, which is, messaging to them on the why behind it and how it's tied to what they're doing. And we're not using specific examples. So that sometimes we're like, oh, I'm doing that. If I role played with you, I'd probably be able to support you in like something specific. And when we say they're not doing it or it's hard to get them to do it, then I hear the struggle in there. And we want to take out the struggle because we're adding it. We're adding it. You can bring me all the struggle that you want. I know you're going to walk and I know you're going to be pain-free. You could tell me all the struggle you want, but we're not going to spend a lot of time there because I'm going to cut through the fat. I'm going to get you to do the thing, right? So sometimes there's other pieces that are missing and we get distracted by all of their need for support. And maybe that's what you're doing. I've had folks come in thinking they were going to get body work for the day, and we talked for a good 40 minutes. Well, we didn't talk. I listened for 40 minutes and I let them know, because we're on a goal. What is your goal for today? And if they say, I don't know, I don't start working. If you need to talk, that's what you came here for. But I'm not going to let them talk and then freak out because 20 minutes of an hour has gone by and now I didn't serve them. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not creating strife for them or me. I'm creating clarity from the moment they walk in the door. And if what they need is to offload, I'm a verbal processor. I get that. Sometimes I just need someone to hear me so that I can hear myself and be like, oh, that's my issue. Okay, got it. Now I know what to go fix, right? I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay with that if I'm only half listening because I'm watching the clock and they're still talking and I'm thinking that they're still talking. I'm not even being a good listener. That's not serving them. Super clear at the beginning or don't move forward, right? And they get to know that you're coming up with that clarity so that they come in prepared for the clarity or prepared for action or prepared for follow-up or prepared for whatever it is, right? So that kind of clarity, I think, helps you. And we all know this, it's good to be reminded. When we're in the presence of someone's activated nervous system, which all people with pain have, it's either activated and highly regulated or dysregulated, it's activated. When we're in the presence of someone's activated sympathetic nervous system, the strongest energy in the room is the one that dictates the energy in the room. So if you're going to be in a flurry or dodging their nervous system or hoping or pressing in that they don't, or being in judgment about, or whatever we do, if you're going to be anything other than clear and confident and grounded, you won't make progress with them because the sympathetic nervous system does not create. It doesn't. You won't create a solution. So we can't be wrapped up in all the details of their story with affect. We want to listen as a proper, thorough intake, but you can't be wrapped up in it. You won't create a solution for them today or tomorrow. The energy in the room that's the strongest is the one that dictates the energy in the room. You got to double down on your confidence, your groundedness, your clarity. There's no room for defensiveness. There's no room for concern or worry or second guessing. There's no room for even being in your head about someone else, another practitioner that they're working with. There's no room for that. You don't have room to be anything but 100% present right here with grounded, clear confidence, or you won't create what you want for them. So that I almost believe that's step one, especially when they come in with loaded stories. Sometimes the loaded stories are just so that they can be witnessed. They've been through it. You've been through it, my friend. No wonder you're here. No wonder you're disillusioned. I get it. Now what do you want to do? All that's lovely history. I feel you. I hear you. I see you. And now what do you want to create? If you could start over, if you could wave a magic wand, if I had the answers for you, and I believe I do, what do you want to create? Right? If they can't be present with you in this moment, you're wasting your time spinning around being disillusioned about how they're not doing their homework and you're not creating results. You're just matching their frenetic energy, right? So you get them present because you're present. You get them clear because you're clear. You get them confident about the potential of a solution because there is one, because you're confident that there's a solution and you have it. If you're not leading the session in that way, it'll be a hard hour. It will be. And that's when you use the word hard, right? That would be a hard hour for sure. You come in with clarity, confidence, groundedness, knowledge base, a strategic plan. You got this for sure. They want that from you too, right? We all feel better when we're in that space as well. I don't get it right every time in my personal life. You know, sometimes in my personal life, there's someone else's frenetic energy and I'm like, whoa, what the heck? And I hate that feeling. And once you're spinning, you're spinning. There's nothing to do then except get out of the spin and get grounded and then come back in that order. You don't try to be in the spin, not spinning. It doesn't work. Nervous systems, it doesn't work. So that it can't work in, you know, the way you do your personal life is the way you do professional life. If it doesn't work in one place, it doesn't work in the other. It doesn't work to be in a spin in our head with our client and also creating presence and results. So we get to do that. And it can be tricky. It can be tricky, but it's doable. Absolutely doable. Anyway, all that to say, lots to create around an architecture of a session, which is starting with our own energy and how we show up more than, you know, do we have the right technique? Are we trained in the right modality? There's a whole lot more nuance to humans, because we're also human, ourselves included, of course. There's a whole lot more nuance that we don't get trained in our respective modalities. It's just not part of it. Like we said this at the summit, or maybe in the VIP space afterward. Even in massage therapy, I'm you know, qualified to be a national educator, and I cannot get a class on professional development to be approved. Why not? Why not? Right? I think, Gary, you were in that conversation. Why not? Why can't we? Why aren't we allowed to be expanded in our dimensions and what we bring to the table and what we're meant to know? You could be the most skilled practitioner that is on the planet, but if you can't message what you're doing and why you're doing it to your client, it lands flat. You can be wildly accurate inside the treatment setting. You could have 100% of your people leave with zero pain. But if you can't enroll them in what to do after the session, the pain will return. That's not about your skill set. That's about your people set. That's about your professional development and your messaging and the ability to enroll another human who's only hearing 20% of what you're saying anyway. And there's 4 different information styles that we know of in the brain. You might be one, you might be talking to somebody else. That means only 25% of the clients that you're speaking to can even hear you and understand what you're saying. You got to flex to be able to let all types, all information styles hear what you're saying with messaging that goes with it. That's not about being the wrong type of practitioner. That's just a different type of development. I do add that in my training program because I know it's needed, but I can't get UCEs for that because that's just not what that's not what the parameters are around continuing education. So I'm offering that for us to be responsible about what else do you get to know. Maybe it's not another modality. Maybe it's a communication style, for example, right? I mean, there's lots that go into it. Okay, so we are at the top of the hour. Is there any last questions or thoughts before I wrap us up for today? Go ahead, Gary, what you got?
I tried to, while we were talking, I went into the chat and tried to sign up.
Okay.
And I got down to the checkout and it keeps bouncing me back up to sign in or log in or whatever. So if after the session's over, if you could send me an email and say you're enrolled or not, then because tomorrow, as you know, on the West Coast is early, and it'll be getting up at 7 to meet you guys, and I want to do that.
Okay, Gary, you absolutely get to come. So just set your alarm clock now. You're in, and we'll figure out the admin and the tech somewhere, somehow between now and then, or even after. But just come, we'll get you in, and I'm gonna find out back of the house tech. It's not my horse. I'll find out what's going on there. But thank you for letting me know that the link's not sending you in circles. That's always fun and frustrating.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, consider yourself in though. Set your alarm and I'll personally send you an email if I have to with the link to get in, okay?
We'll
Okay.
drink coffee in our jams tomorrow, Gary.
Yeah.
We'll all wake up with architecture of a session. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're coming. Have
Me
fun.
too. Yeah, I'm so
Looking
glad you're
forward to
coming,
it.
Gary. Good.
Mhm.
We'll get that handled for you, hopefully today, okay?
Okay.
I might put you in touch with my assistant whose name is Chantel. So if you get an email directly from her, just know that it's coming from us and let her help you, okay?
Okay, great.
Right,
Thank you.
awesome. Okay, great. I'll see you guys in the morning.
All right.
Okay, bright and early. Bye, my love.
Bye. Thank you.